The meeting is called to order. Please stand for the pledge. Welcome everyone to the September regular meeting of the Community High School District 94 Board of Education. Mission statement, please.
Community High School will ignite a passion for learning, foster leadership and responsibility, and empower all learners to live their personal best.
Thank you, Rich. Board agreements, please.
Request for information. When an individual board member requests information, it will be provided to all board members. One gets, all get.
Thank you, Lynn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Casey Mayer?
Here.
Mr. Nagel?
Present.
Mr. Ramos?
Present.
Ms. Munoz?
Here.
Ms. Chavez?
Present.
Ms. Murphy?
Present.
All right, that brings us to Student of the Month.
West Chicago Community High School names Matthew Krasinski as August 2025 Student of the Month. West Just wait, there's more. West Chicago Community High School is proud to announce senior Matthew Krasinski as its latest Student of the Month, recognizing his outstanding contributions to the school community through academics, leadership, and extracurricular involvement. A dedicated member of We Go Drama and the marching band, Krasinski exemplifies excellence in both the arts and in his personal commitment to service. A standout student, Krasinski is a member of multiple honor societies, including the National Honor Society, Music Honor Society, Foreign Language Honor Society. He has made a significant impact through his deep involvement in the school's vibrant arts scene. Having participated in We Go Drama all 4 years, he has appeared in numerous productions, medaled at a state competition, and currently serves as one of the club's co-presidents. In the marching band, he has been a student leader and a top ensemble member for 4 years. My favorite high school memory is going to state with drama last year, Krasinski said. It was incredible to be part of a production and a team that was so amazing. We were recognized for our hard work, and we were able to perform at a truly special level. We Go Drama sponsor, Mark Begovich, praised Krasinski's character and leadership. Matthew is an exemplary human being. He is a caring and compassionate person who acts as the big brother to drama and music students. Additionally, he takes great pride in WeGo and consistently promotes the school's many successes. Most importantly, Matthew is willing to stand up for what is right and will challenge and support others to make the best decisions. I am so proud to work with him. Looking to the future, Matthew plans to attend a 4-year college and to study computer hardware engineering, with Purdue University being his top choice. Matthew offered these words of wisdom for future WCCHS students. Find your people and hold on to them. WeGo is a very positive community, and everyone can find others that they can really connect with. Having a group of people you can rely on not only makes high school more enjoyable, it makes it easier and gives you something to look forward to. The West Chicago Community High School community extends its congratulations to Matthew on this well-deserved honor and wishes him the very best in all future endeavors. Thank you, Matthew.
Congratulations, Matthew. And now, good news of the district. And there's a lot.
There's a lot. The Advanced Placement AP Scholar Awards are granted each fall by the College Board's AP program to recognize high school students who demonstrate outstanding college-level achievement through their performance on multiple AP exams. At West Chicago Community High School, 138 students earned AP Scholar recognition this year. The highest honor within this program is the AP Scholar with Distinction Award. To achieve this award, students must earn an average score of at least 3.5 on all AP exams taken and a score of 3 or higher on 5 or more of these exams. This year, 52 students earned the AP Scholar with Distinction Award. Of these, 23 were graduates from the class of 2025. Tonight, we proudly recognize the remaining 29 students from the current senior class at WCCHS, who will also receive cords to wear at graduation. Each of these students has shown exceptional dedication and academic excellence. We congratulate them on this remarkable achievement. So I'm going to go ahead and list their names. We have Valeria Balinas, Jacob D. Benitez, Peter H. Bovey, Brockton Brown, Guadalupe Carreto, Alex M. Durkin, Allison A. Dusing, Leslie I. Garcia, Sneha George, Jacob Hayward, Rachel E. Knack, Julia S. Koput, Joshua C. Kotke, Matthew R. Krasinski, Grace M. Kuhn, Cody Albert U. Lieno, Aaron P. Laurent, Jesse Myers, Brian Nguyen, Gwyneth S. Nika, Mason A. Ostapa, Nick W. Riconosciuto, Lucas B. Rudden, Magdalena L. Chave, Daniel Sazkalowski, Haley R. Turan, Dirk A. Ulbrich, Nathaniel F. Valenzuela, and Leo W. Volk. Congratulations.
Congratulations to all of our AP scholars with distinction. And while you are certainly welcome to stick around for the rest of the board meeting, we completely understand if you and your families would like to head home at this point. All right, that was a lot of wonderful good news for the district. That brings us to public participation. This is the portion of our meeting where any member of the public may address the Board of Education on any topic. We welcome your comments and will carefully listen to your concerns. We will not be able to engage in a dialogue during public participation, but when appropriate, we will direct the administration to follow up. Presentations are limited to no more than 5 minutes per person, with a total time limit of 30 minutes for public participation. If you are making public comment, please speak slowly so that the translator is able to keep up with you. If you wish to make personal charges or complaints against individual employees, volunteers, or students of the district, we request that you send the board your concerns in writing rather than stating those concerns during public comment. If anyone currently present wishes to make public comment and hasn't already done so, please fill out one of the comment forms in the back of the room and hand it to someone seated at the table. At this point, we received no comment forms, but we did receive one electronically submitted public comment from Beth Govertson on the topic of safety updates for the immigrant community. Do we have a plan to communicate our ICE protocol to the immigrant community? 50% of my ESL students were absent the past 2 days. I assume families are feeling very scared and don't know their children are being protected at school, don't know how their children are being protected at school. When was the last communication in Spanish sent home to families concerning ICE and our plan to keep students safe? District 33 sent out a safety protocol update in English and Spanish today. Additionally, our ICE protocol states there will be regular teacher training on handling ICE interactions and understanding student rights. Is there a plan for this training? And if so, teachers working with the immigrant community need support with the additional emotional load. And that is evening. That brings us to public hearing on proposed 2025-2026 budget, starting with the overview of the proposed budget. Dan.
Sorry. Thank you. Once again, I'm back for the public hearing of our budget. So, school budget represents the financial, operational, and most importantly, instructional goals of the school board and district leadership. During the budgeting process, every effort was made to identify as many known revenues and expenditures as possible. As a reminder, the school district budget represents only a plan, and the actual revenues and expenditures may be different than the budget. Here's the timetable that we followed for the presentation, review, and submission of the fiscal year 2026 budget. I presented the tentative budget on August 5th, and it was put on display shortly after that. There was a board meeting and a committee of whole meeting held for questions. The public hearing is tonight to adopt the fiscal year 2026 budget. After approval to adopt the budget tonight, administration will submit to the ISB and the county clerk by September 30th. The annual budget is 8 separate budgets for each of the listed funds and is prepared with the goal to ensure each fund is balanced and funds used appropriately. You will find a separate section for each of these funds in the digital budget booklet that was provided. Here are the changes that are made to the tentative budget as allowed. All of the revenue changes revolve around updated numbers from the corporate personal property replacement tax, the evidence-based funding, and the people transportation claim. The expense changes to the education fund are for salary overloads, which were already approved by the board, and an allocation to help offset qualifying free students for student activities. These changes had minimal impact to the overall budget. Here's a snapshot of all the funds. Due to the capital projects, we expect to have a deficit over all funds. The operations and maintenance fund balance will be used for next year's anticipated capital improvements, which will be transferred to the capital projects fund to better account for these projects. The anticipated ending fund balance provides almost 9 months of savings. Now we're going to take a closer look at the operating funds. These are the 5 operating funds: education, operations, transportation, IMRF, Social Security, and toward immunity. With the transfer to capital projects, the surplus in the operations and maintenance fund will offset a portion of the reduction in that fund. Both the IMRF and tort funds have planned deficits in an effort to reduce their respective fund balances. The anticipated ending fund balance provides, again, almost 9 months of savings. There are several sources and types of revenue which we receive on an annual basis. Our revenues come from various sources like the tax levy process, investing of fund balance, and from grants submitted to ISB. Revenues will drive the school budget, and as such, the budgeting process begins with revenue. Once the revenue budget is set, then we can take a closer look at how we can appropriate those funds to meet the needs of our students. As expected, much of our revenue is received from local property taxes and corporate property personal replacement tax. The state portion is mainly the evidence-based funding, which continues to increase year over year as we are still Tier 1 for EBF. The federal portion of the last few years had mainly consisted of the CARES funding. That funding has completely ended, and so our federal revenues is now back to more of a consistent 3.6% as we saw before COVID. The local section of the pie chart is comparable to other schools in our area, although most of the collar counties are even more dependent on property taxes when compared to District 94. Revenues in our operating funds are expected to stay consistent when compared to last year. Although we are seeing an increase in evidence-based funding, we're also seeing a decrease in CPPRT and the federal grants. This graph represents the property taxes we receive each of the last 4 fiscal years, along with the budget amount for FY26. We will receive the rest of the 2024 tax levy and the estimated first half of the 2025 tax levy in FY26. This estimate includes a 5% increase to EAV and the known December 2024 Consumer Price Index of 2.9, which will be limited to the 5% in new construction. As a reminder, the tax levy is submitted in December, and then payments received on that tax levy are received the following June through September. As such, and because residents are paying their property taxes between 2 fiscal years, and as D94 records revenue on the cash basis of accounting, the actual receipt of the property taxes for each year fluctuates. Although the chart shows a decrease in property taxes, this is only because of the timing of when residents are paying their bills. Aside from our main source of revenue, which are property taxes we just discussed, there are several other revenue resources. The main one to point out is the evidence-based funding, or EBF, under Tier 1 funding. I had estimated that we would receive around $9.7 million from EBF, which was an increase of $1 million, but the actual allocation is an increase of $860,000 instead of the $1 million I originally estimated. Our adequacy mark for EBF is still around 70%, with Tier 2 starting at 75%. The other categorical funding include the CTI grant for our vocational program and the pupil transportation reimbursement claim. As we look at federal funding, you can see the CARES funding has completely gone away. The IDEA grant had a large increase, mainly due to the timing of expenditures, and as a large portion of the revenue is reimbursement from the transition department, which was partially expensed to the IDEA grant in the last fiscal year. The other federal grants are expected to decrease a bit. Other sources listed there are corporate personal property replacement tax and interest. The CPPRT is issued by the Illinois Department of Revenue, and each year an estimate is provided, which again we have. They have provided a few weeks ago. With regards to interest, I've made a conservative estimate with the hope that my estimate is low. We have 8 different kinds of classifications of an expenditure per the Illinois Program Accounting Manual. As the expenditure side of the budget is prepared, the salary and benefits are calculated first, as this is the largest portion of the budget and is mostly a known expense as calculated from the collective bargaining agreements, which takes into account the salary schedule increases and lane changes. From there, discussions with department heads take place to determine the specific supplies, equipment, and software needs of the students. Educating students is a people-intensive business, so it's no surprise that the salaries or benefits are the largest portion of our expenditures at just over 63%. The purchase services and supply portions are largely made up of our transportation contract, energy contracts, along with software needs, maintenance and custodial supplies, and curriculum supplies. The capital outlay section includes much of the technology equipment and facility improvements that are planned. And then lastly, the other section is comprised of special education tuition, which continues to increase year over year. The operating funds are expected, the operating fund expenditures are anticipated to have an increase of about 5.5%. The increase is due to salary and benefits increasing, large increases in transportation and energy costs, as well as those capital improvement projects. As the budget is compiled, I tried to find as many knowns as possible. Some of those knowns include salaries for staff, which include ratified contracts for teachers and support staff. As the board knows, the health benefits increase at around 6% every year. Each year I meet with the various department heads to review their anticipated needs for their upcoming school year. Because of zero-based budgeting, the purchase services and supply accounts for the departments have minimal increases. With our new transportation provider coming on last year and the expectation of better service to our families and students, we knew the increase would be dramatic, which we are now seeing. And then the other large increase is the expected increase for energy costs, as we have discussed with the board in the past. And then lastly, tuition for our place students, again, continues to increase. We have various capital projects we intend to complete over the year and into next summer. The majority of these projects are recommended from our architect's DLA. If you recall from the 2022 DLA provided a facility plan noting that most of these needed improvements. These improvements include the replacement of the 1926 sections of the roof, the parking lot of the south side of the building, which was delayed from last year, and then also given the auditorium a facelift. DLA and allied facility partners will be taking the lead on the majority of these projects, submitting bid packets and overseeing these projects. I'll update the board with specific bids as we get closer to those going out. Additionally, we have our normal annual furniture order, and we're also going to be looking to replace the fence around the stadium if funds are available. As I've noted, we have capital improvement projects we are anticipating to complete this year. In order to better account for those projects and have a better understanding, overall understanding of our normal operating expenditures and our operating funds, just like last year, we will be recommending a transfer of $2 million from the Operations and Maintenance Fund to the Capital Projects Fund. Also, as we normally do, we will have a transfer of interest from the Working Cash Fund to the Education Fund. Similar to any individual or family, a savings plan is part of any good financial plan. The anticipated ending fund balances at the end of the fiscal year show that we have some flexibilities for future projects and could cover any disruptions in local, state, or federal revenues, which is always a good thing. The percent of expenditures numbers are based on the last 3 years, and the average of those expenditures, if you recall, from the recent facility plan from DLA in 2022, we still have multiple projects left to complete. These fund balances will help us to accomplish these projects, along with any unforeseen projects that always come along. Any questions?
All right, at this point, is there any public comment on the proposed 2025 to 2026 budget? Hearing none, any board discussion?
Thank you, Dan.
What? You said thank you?
Thank you.
You're welcome, Rich.
So good.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
All right, at this point, the recommended motion that the Board of Education adjourn the public hearing portion of the Board of Education meeting at 7:23 p.m.
So moved.
All right, so one of you will take a second on that one. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the public hearing has been adjourned. Now that brings us to actually approving the budget. The recommended motion, the Board of Education adopt the budget for the 2025 to 2026 school year as presented in the public hearing conducted on September 16th, 2025, and sign the applicable school district budget form.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Mr. Remus?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Ms. Chavez?
Aye.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Motion carries. We have a budget. Everybody needs to make sure that we get it all signed by everybody before we leave tonight. All right, I saw your little notes. All right, that brings us to reports and information. Back to you, Dan, Executive Director of Business Services Report.
Okay, another presentation. Sorry, I'm looking at Bob to make sure I'm good to go over there. I am happy to present a 5-year forecast providing projections from July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2023. This forecast will provide the board, the administration, and its staff a baseline to help make long-term decisions for the district. This forecast will provide scenarios for low, middle, and high projections, mainly based on revenues, which, as I mentioned in my budget presentation, will drive the overall budget. It is important to note that the forecast is only an estimate based on possible assumptions, and that the forecast moves closer to FY31, the assumptions become less and less reliable. We will start with the revenues because, as I just mentioned, revenues drive that budget. So our biggest source of income comes from property taxes, which are based mainly on the Consumer Price Index and new construction. CPI is expected to be between 2% and 4% in the coming years, with new construction in the area more than likely calming down. CPPRT has a baseline of $1.5 million, which is expected to stay flat for the middle projection, with the low and high projections seeing a $300,000 decrease or increase respectively. For this forecast, I've kept the other local revenue flat with no changes for low, middle, or high. The EBF baseline is currently at $9.6 million. For the low forecast, I've kept no change to EBF, meaning the state does not provide any additional funding to EBF over the next 5 years. For the middle forecast, I've added $500,000 for the next 3 years, and then $300,000 for the last 2 years, with the expectation that we would drop from Tier 1 to Tier 2. For the high forecast, I've added $1 million for the next 3 years, and then $500,000 for the last 2 years. For federal grants, in the low forecast, I've reduced this funding by 20%, and for the high, I've increased it by $200,000, with no changes to that middle forecast with a baseline of $1.6 million. For the expenditures, I've kept all scenarios with the same projections year over year. So the salary and benefit assumptions are based on current collective bargaining agreements, and then extended to FY31 based on the current increases. The benefit assumption is an annual increase of 6%, which mirrors the average increase over the past few years. The remaining expenditures include purchase services, supplies, capital outlay, and tuition. Purchase services and supplies are assumed to increase 3% every year. Tuition and other fees are assumed to increase by 4% every year. And then capital outlay is mainly based on the 2022 DLA facility assessment and on the district's annual needs for Chromebooks, along with other capital purchases. So this chart shows the forecast for the expenditures for all three options, low, middle, and high. As you can see, there's a steady increase each year, with expenditures ending around $53 million in FY31, which equates to about a 3% overall increase each year. The projection for the low revenue scenario only sees an overall increase of 7.5% over the next 5 years, or a 1.5% increase year over year. This increase is mainly property taxes, as all other revenues either stay flat or decrease. So as we take a closer look at how the low projection could affect the district's overall operating fund balance, we see that fund balance decline over the next 5 years, with an ending fund balance compared to expenditures of about 60%. The projection for the middle scenario notes a revenue increase of around 12% over the next 5 years, or about 2.4% year over year. With this projection, we see a moderate increase to the fund balance with the level percent of fund balance as it starts to level off of fund balance to expenditures of around 85%. The projection for the high scenario notes a revenue increase of around 16% over the next 5 years, or 3.2% year over year. And as expected, this scenario sees a fund balance grow to over 57 million and a percentage compared to the expenditures of over 100%. Again, these scenarios are simply to get a baseline to help determine long-term decisions for the district. Scenarios and assumptions can change at any time and should only be taken as possible outcomes. Any one of 1,000 scenarios could actually happen. But with that, are there any questions?
I appreciate that and all the work you put into it, and I really, really hope that we fall in the middle or the high side. My instinct is we will probably. Glad that we are in a very good position. I think that we can sustain what we've been doing.
Thank you. Yeah, we have been living kind of on the high side the last few years, and that's definitely probably slowing down would be the expectation. But
Foreclosures are rising. Dropping. Construction will be dropping. Construction costs will be rising. Employment rate's going up, so life is good.
Any other questions or comments?
well, then I have a little bit more of my report.
Okay.
I just wanted to update the board on the FY25 audit. Our district auditor is Baker Tilly. They will be on site September 22nd to begin their field work. This is a later date than normal, as the district is now issuing our reports on the accrual basis of accounting, which requires the auditors to capture records through August 31st. We normally present the audit results to the Board of Education in October, but with the later start date, we should expect this report in November. Additionally, because of delays at the federal government level, we should expect a delay in the issuance of the single audit report, which encompasses federal compliance for our federal grants that our auditors prepare, and those are like IDEA and Title I grants. In the past, our annual financial report and single audit were issued at the same time, but that will probably not be the case this year. We'll see the annual financial report first and then the single audit after the fact. And then lastly, donations under 500. We received a donation in the amount of $100. The intent for the donation is for the We Go Boutique. This particular donation was not larger than the $500 threshold requiring board approval, but they are in your packet under my report for your information. Any questions on that?
All right, thank you very much for your presentations and for your forecasting. It's good to keep those eyes open. All right, that brings us to Interim Executive Director of Human Resources report. Carrie.
Thank you. Let me start off by saying congratulations to our staff as a whole, and especially to the dedicated volunteers of the Staff Wellness Committee for being recognized for the third consecutive year by a health insurance consortium. That's EBC, Employee Benefit Consortium. A very special thank you to last year's committee chairs, Ellie Cockrum and Tracy Lucas. Ellie is a social worker and Tracy is a counselor here at the high school. The consortium recognizes recognition, which is based on the level of staff participation in wellness, entitles the district to a reimbursement of approximately $30,000. These funds are used to reduce employee health insurance premiums, with approximately 10% reinvested in the Staff Wellness Committee to support staff wellness initiatives throughout this school year. The committee has already started planning wellness activities for this school year, which include but are not limited to the West Chicago Fit for Fall 5K run, which is this weekend, the annual health screenings and flu shot on November 3rd. Also, adult social emotional learning opportunities, wellness Wednesdays, yoga classes, and workshops such as stress management. The mission of the Staff Wellness Committee is to foster a culture of health and well-being among staff by promoting healthy habits, increasing awareness of wellness resources, empowering individuals to take ownership of their own health, and strengthening our sense of community. As you know, healthy employees contribute to lower utilization of our insurance program, which is a cost savings to both employees and the district. They also take fewer sick days, another cost savings to the district. As a result, employees perform more effectively in their roles, which ultimately benefit our students. Following the successful launch of the support staff mentoring program last year, the second year of that initiative is now underway. Each of our 8 new hired support staff members have been thoughtfully paired with an experienced colleague who provides guidance and support over a 120-day period. Experienced staff members volunteer to be considered for mentorship and are placed on a candidate list. The administration then selects mentors based on role alignment and the potential of offering meaningful support to new employees. Mentoring assignments are made with the goal of fostering professional growth, building confidence, and ensuring a smooth transition into our district. A common byproduct for mentoring programs in general is that the mentor also grows professionally. Mentors receive a stipend as defined within our agreement with the West Chicago High School Support Staff Association. Let me conclude by sharing that in accordance with school code, attached to your board packet are 3 reports, 2 IMRF reports, that's the $75,000 salary and $150,000 salary report, and then the teacher administration salary and benefit report. Please note the IMRF reports are for the current year, and the teacher and administrators are for the previous year. These reports are required to be made public and available on our website by October 1. Any questions?
Just for clarification, the 120-day period, that's 120 work days or 120 calendar days?
Work days.
Work days.
Any other questions? All right, thank you for that report. Principal's report, Lamaris.
I'm pleased to introduce our 2 student board representatives for this school year. So we have 2 students, Rosie Coacle and Mason Ostapa. Both of the students represent our senior class, so we're excited to have them join us.
Welcome to the table.
I also have 2 updates, mariachi and one with respect to our EL department. So on August 16th, a new club activity form was circulated to collect signatures from our students to seek interest for students that are interested in joining the mariachi club. By the 25th, 16 students had expressed interest, and so we moved forward with the application process. During the process, we did discover some conflicting information regarding guidance for compensation and the approval of a new club. So this resulted in the original posting for the mariachi sponsor to be taken down, as approval was required through the Appendix B committee. The Appendix B committee did meet today. We did confirm the current practice for starting a new club and seek approval for the mariachi club. So following this meeting, the mariachi meeting, we seek to repost a position for a mariachi sponsor. So we anticipate that that posting will go up tomorrow. We will also be posting for a 0.2 FTE overload, and this is to provide services to our English learner students who are placed off campus, a practice that was previously not in place. So we are required to provide English language learner services to students who are placed off campus, and this includes students who are eligible for both special education and EL services. This finding came after ISB reviewed our bilingual service plan section that is part of the consolidated district plan. In the review of services for outplaced students, ISB indicated that EL services were required for our EL students who were outplaced. So to comply, we seek for a 0.2 EL overload teacher who will collaborate with our EL and special education teams to provide asynchronous EL services to English learners off campus. And you will also find the student attendance and discipline report for the month of August in your report.
Any questions or comments? All right, thank you for that report. Superintendent's report. Kurt.
Yeah, so I'd first like to take this opportunity to recognize and congratulate our student advisors to the Board of Education, Rosie and Mason. I believe that in order for us to truly know what our students need, then we should simply ask them and ensure they are part of the process. As a district, we have always valued and respected our students' voice and overall perspective. This is yet another wonderful opportunity to hear directly from our students and to ensure their voice is at the forefront of all decisions we make as a district. Last week, I provided the board with a copy of the IASB Resolution Committee report. Mr. Nagel has historically been the District 94 representative at the annual conference in Chicago, and in doing so, the board has entrusted him to act on behalf of the board during the delegate assembly, which will be held on November 22nd. Prior to the annual conference, we'll need to review the resolution report in open session to ensure all board members are in agreement with the recommendations. We have received 5 FOIA requests since the last regular Board of Education meeting and have responded within the required time frame. All requests have been included in your packet. And lastly, kind of off script, since the publication of our reports on Friday and the posting of the agenda, we've had some rather unfortunate circumstances that occurred within our community over the last 48 hours. As you know, we did have reports that ICE agents were in our community, circulating throughout. None of them ever appeared on our property whatsoever. We did communicate out our protocols, our ICE protocols, to our staff. Once again, if you recall, last year I developed ICE protocols in preparation for some of the events that were happening last winter/spring. Reiterated those protocols to our staff. We did also have our administrators out in front of the building upon arrival and departure for the last 48 hours. There was no activity in our area, which we're really happy to report. We did notice over the last 2 days our attendance rate has decreased by 5%. So on Monday it was at 88% attendance, where it's typically at 93%. On Tuesday, it was at 87%, and it's typically, on a typical Tuesday, it's 92.5%. We've had the chance, Dr. Pollo, myself, Dr. Suarez, had a chance to meet with individual teachers and also with teachers as a group yesterday afternoon. Had a chance to meet with our fellow administrators earlier this morning to talk through the process that we went through yesterday, and to ensure that our counseling, social work, and psychology staff are available for students who might need additional support. We understand that our teachers really want to help in any way that they can, but they're not clinically trained like our counselors and social workers are, so those services are available. I have not heard if any students have accessed that in the last 24 hours, but I'll be speaking with Ms. Erickson and Mr. Egan tomorrow to see if anyone has reached out for those support services. In addition to that, we've also communicated out with our community. Last year, at the same time that I developed the ICE protocols, we also developed a quick links on our website. It's at the very top. If you click on the quick links, you can scroll down to Know Your Rights tab. And this is all translatable into English and Spanish, and it lists all of the Know Your Rights information. It also gives contact information and supports for our families as well, and that's readily available on our website. The ICE protocols that we pushed out as an internal document, it's meant to help ease the concerns of our staff, to let them know that we do have something in place in the event that someone does show up. Clearly lists points of contact in there, me being the first point of contact, the principal being the second, and then the executive director for operations and safety being the third. If one of us is out in a meeting or is sick, then they just follow that progression. Our front door staff, who would be the first point of contact, has been trained and is familiar with our protocols, should in the event someone approach our building. But we are very fortunate that that has not happened, and we don't anticipate that happening. So we were able to continue with normal operations the last 2 days. PE, geometry construction still went on. Accordingly, the one minor adjustment we did make was we put an anti-frame security guard out at the corner over here, just as another set of eyes, just to monitor the surrounding areas as kids transition to and from the building for physical education. And again, nothing was reported. So we feel like these proactive measures have helped keep our building running and be a safe place for our kids to learn, because with everything that's going on outside of our four walls here, this is the safest place for kids, and we need them in the building in order to learn.
Thank you very much for that update and for what you've been doing to make sure that everybody's on the same page and how to respond to this challenging environment.
I'd like to make a quick comment about, in regard to the FOIA. A prior board member, Mr. Sake, responding to it, and he received a denial on it was just the day after and I just find that very, very disappointing that something would that way. If the intent was to deny it, it's also interesting to note that when he spoke at the last board meeting, the sound didn't work, and
That was, just to be, that was an honest mistake with the technical situation. For some reason, there was a button pressed here that I wasn't aware of that had my microphone being exclusive, and that was resolved as soon as Bob noticed that situation.
I said I was sitting at the table. I knew that there was
So
an
that was
issue,
not-
but I had a number of comments with our community members.
In regards to the FOIA, anytime we have a FOIA of that nature, which we don't get often, that has to deal with confidential information, we kick it to our attorney. And our attorney doesn't just represent our district, so sometimes there's the delay in responding, which means that we have every right to extend that out by law by those 5 days, which is what we exercised.
Any other questions or comments regarding the superintendent's report? All right, thank you for that, Kurt. Committee and representative reports.
Recently, I attended the SACID Finance Committee meeting on September 3rd. During this meeting, we reviewed the executive director's rationale for consolidated facilities as it relates to anticipated cost savings and overall efficiencies. There were several questions from the committee that needed to be addressed. As a result, we'll be meeting once again after the Board of Directors meeting on September 17th. That Finance Committee meeting was actually just canceled and postponed, so our Finance Committee meeting for SACID will not occur for another 2 weeks, but the Board of Directors meeting will meet tomorrow, on the 17th. The DuPage IASA, we had our first official meeting of the year on September 10th, where we had the pleasure of welcoming State Superintendent Dr. Tony Sanders as our keynote speaker. Dr. Sanders provided an overview of the new ACT benchmark scores, discussed federal and state funding concerns, as well as future goals for the Illinois State Board of Education. Our next meeting is scheduled for October 8th, and this concludes the committee report.
Any questions or comments? All right, future dates. October 7th is our next committee of the whole meeting, and October 21st is our next regular Board of Education meeting. That brings us to board members' open comments. Does anybody have any?
I do.
Okay, then we're glad to hear you.
Last Wednesday, I was on my way from Denver up to the mountains of Colorado when about 15 emergency by on the way to Evergreen, which was about 5 miles. And as soon as I got where I was staying, found out about a tragic both occurrences, more so even by the high school shooting because of the number to be increasing as we go. And then I came back into town yesterday to the news about ICE being in our community. It made me kind of think about the board, the high school, and what is going on in our world that we're living in. Much as I have always felt very strongly that partisan politics have absolute board table, in light of what's happening to our community, I actually, Beth's comments kind of feel very strongly that not just having procedures and protocols in place, proactively about how to push out sources and security, not just to our students alone, but to the families that our students rely on. I think living in the world we're living in with the focus that the federal government has to be ready to pivot to a much more horrible situation than we're already existing in. What kinds of support we can give in the event of families to go besides their home to hide. Do we have enough support for them? Are we just waiting for the students to come searching for help, or are we actively going out watching for those that may need it? Because this is a very scary time to be. Very proactive in doing something about that. In making voices heard as far as safety for students within. Very hard with the government to try and get some laws that will not just make us have stronger locks on the doors, but prevent people from having guns that get into schools that kill kids. So with that being said, I just wanted to mention that also I saw today that this was the great opportunity to push out on how to support each other and their varying heritages. That as a civic lesson, here's a point in time when the government is not supporting diversity. A return of Nazi world where people were.
Thank you for those thoughts. Any other board member comments? All right, any future issues?
I have one. That's a hard act to follow, but rather than pull the regular Board of Education minutes off of the consent agenda, I just wanted to make a couple comments. At the end of the minutes for the interim executive director report and the superintendent's report, it said after the report, Carrie and Kurt answered questions from the board. Seems to me that that should be in the minutes as to what the questions were and what the answers were, not just that additional questions and answers were made. It's part of the meeting, should be part of the minutes for future reference. So that's something either we agree to do or we have further discussion on it as a board. Seems like some of that information might be missing. As I read that, I said, oh, I wonder what the questions were, what the answers were. I was here without knowing other people that may want to pick up the minutes sometime in the future wouldn't know. So it seems like it's part of the meeting, should be part of the minutes.
Sounds like that might be a future topic to put on an agenda to talk about the status of the minutes and what level of detail we're recording.
Somewhere along the line, I think it should be considered.
I think you've got that down, Kurt, right? All right. Any other future issues? All right, that brings us to consent agenda. Does anybody wish any items removed from the consent agenda for separate action?
No.
All right, hearing none, the recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda for the minutes, financials, and reports, SOPPA agreements, and donations over $500.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Casey Mayer,
Aye.
Mr. Nagel, Mr. Remus,
Aye.
Ms. Munoz,
Aye.
Ms. Chavez,
Aye.
Ms. Murphy,
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye. Motion carries. New business postage machines. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the 60-month agreement from Pitney Bowes in the total amount of $41,487.60 for the lease of 2 Pitney Bowes postage machines.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Nagel,
Aye.
Mr. Remus,
Aye.
Ms. Munoz,
Aye.
Ms. Chavez, Ms. Murphy,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer.
Aye.
Motion carries. Boiler repair. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the proposal from Voris Mechanical, Inc., Glendale Heights, Illinois, in the amount of $27,990 for the repair of the boiler.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Remus,
Aye.
Ms. Munoz,
Aye.
Ms. Chavez, Ms. Murphy,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer, Mr. Nagel.
Aye.
Motion carries. Pool repair. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the invoice from American Trenchless Technologies, DeKalb, Illinois, in the total amount of $25,849 for the repair of multiple collapsed pool drain pipes, and that the Board of Education approve the proposal from Miller Concrete, West Chicago, Illinois, in the total amount of $16,105 for the excavation of up to 3 access holes and to backfill those holes, which includes the change order of $4,015.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a nitpicky comment. On page 3 of the quote, they talk about using a torch wrench to tighten specified parts. I think they mean a torque wrench.
Maybe.
It's interesting, I've never heard of a torch wrench, so you're probably correct.
No, a torque wrench is what
Probably.
you would use to tighten, so.
Yeah.
Yes, that would
I
make
don't know
sense.
that that is going to change anything, but I had a chuckle.
It's a multi-use tool.
I think we're trusting our vendors to bring the appropriate tools. Any other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Ms. Munoz,
Aye.
Ms. Chavez, Ms. Murphy,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer,
Aye.
Mr. Nagel,
Aye.
Mr. Remus.
Aye.
Motion carries. Personnel report. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the personnel report as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Chavez. Ms. Murphy,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer,
Aye.
Mr. Nagel,
Aye.
Mr. Remus,
Aye.
Ms. Munoz.
Aye.
Motion carries. Press Plus 119, second reading and approval. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the Press Plus Issue 119 policies as presented.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Murphy,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer,
Aye.
Mr. Nagel,
Aye.
Mr. Remus,
Aye.
Ms. Munoz,
Aye.
Ms. Chavez.
Motion carries. That brings us to board questions regarding emails.
So Kathy had requested that we put this on the agenda, so I'll turn it over to Kathy if you want to kick it off.
I just had asked about it because I know Rich and I had brought up in the past that we had no issue with our names being used, and that seemed like focus on transparency. If you've got a question, if said it, asked the question at the board table, everybody would know who asked. And if I'll be referenced that way, and apparently, so I had asked Kurt about it, and he went to everybody, and everybody else wanted their name associated with their question. It's fine. I'm just wondering why, because the explanation didn't.
I'll give a little context for the people watching at home. So anytime a board member sends me an email with a question, follow our protocols to where if one knows, all knows. So then I'll take that question, I'll send it back to the whole board with my response, and I will frame it to where it says a board member asked the following question. Where the rub is here is that there's certain members of the board that would like a name attached to that question. I did ask other superintendents in the area. They've never assigned names to those questions. They've always said, a board member asked this question, here's my response. So that's what led to this discussion here.
I've got a few thoughts just to put my perspective on it, and we'll see what everybody else has to say. The most important tool that a board member has to enable them to do their job in representing our community is the ability to ask questions. Sometimes at board meetings, sometimes outside of meetings via in-person, phone, or email. It has been our practice that when a board member asks a question outside of a board meeting, that the question and the answer from the administration is copied to all board members, so we're all aware of the question and answer, though the member that asked the question will not be identified. Until fairly recently, we have had a situation where some board members felt uncomfortable asking questions both inside and outside of board meetings because their questions were pushed back and they were sometimes even criticized for asking the questions. This had led some members to sometimes not ask questions that they otherwise would have wanted to for fear of how they would be treated. Thankfully, the level of trust between the board and administration is in a much better place now. The level of trust within our board itself, however, is still a work in progress. I understand the desire for knowing which board member asked specific questions, and in a perfect world, this would likely not be a problem. Our world is far from perfect, however, and I'm concerned that some board members may feel inhibited in asking questions if they thought that other board members might criticize them for having asked the question. I feel that the greater good is served by not identifying the specific board member who asked a question to ensure that board members do not feel inhibited from doing their duty by asking questions. So those are my thoughts.
No, that was very well thought out. I'll just piggyback on that, even, and that's all very true. I agree with what you say. Sometimes I know even on a personal level, I might feel a little embarrassed about questions and I don't want to say them in front of the whole board and feel like I'm maybe showing some ignorance on something I should already know. So I would prefer to have those things done on a more private level and ask on a one-on-one situation. And then maybe it's just not appropriate to let everybody know who said what. I've been doing a lot of thinking about this since I saw that it's coming back up, and it's encouraging to know too that this is what other boards do or what how other superintendents handle it. I'm happy to go along with what we've been doing and how other superintendents handle it.
Appreciate your response, Bob. I too have felt that way. Until very recently, I have felt deeply discouraged to ask questions at the board tables. So I think that adds a little bit of a layer of comfortability in asking questions. And at the end of the day, we are collectively bringing it back to the group.
Any other comments? Catalina, Tammy, Rich?
It seems contra to the transparency that we're promoting. It gives board members the opportunity to maybe hide behind the anonymity, asking a question without the rest of the board getting the answer, but not necessarily the question and the context. I understand, and it's unfortunate that some board members are afraid to ask questions openly, but if that's the case, then I can understand the fact that if they don't want to be associated with a question, then, you know, they will either not ask it at all or ask it with the anonymity of the superintendent behind that. So that's too bad, but I understand if that's the situation. It's better to get the questions out and the answers back than to have things sort of not being resolved.
So, okay, I'm not, so what are you saying that you're reluctantly comfortable with keeping it anonymous? Is that what I'm hearing, or?
If that's the best way that we'll get additional questions and information out, then yeah, I guess I would say I'm reluctantly comfortable with it.
If I could just add one thing, Bob, unfortunately, I feel like after our board retreat, you said it best, unfortunately, I just don't think we're there as a board yet. I think we cherry pick when we decide we want to be transparent. And we're not all committed to transparency at the same time.
And I think when we're talking about transparency, this particular thing is not something that we need to be transparent about. It's not really affecting students. It's not really affecting how the school is run. It's just making us feel comfortable as board members. So I don't know if the effort to be more transparent for the community, because really that's who I think we want to be transparent to, the community. I don't know that this falls in that category.
I kind of disagree with you on the being transparent to just the community. If we can't be transparent with each other sitting at this table, that kind of encourages the distrust that already simmers at the board table. And I don't, you put the name, I think it's a better idea, but if we don't, it's not the end of the world. But I do think that it does invalidate our, you know, beating a drum about there, because again, if we ask a question at the board table, it would be obvious who was asking it. Mm-hmm. And we've got an avenue to ask a question if we are worried about, and every single one of us, even those of us who have been on the board or a board for years, often asks questions that might make them look like. But if you take it off to the side, that's great. You have that option. But why wouldn't we want to be transparent with each other? Again, I think that just promotes a sense of distrust.
Maybe it's a cart before the horse. Maybe we need to work on the trust so that that trust increases, so that we feel more comfortable, so that everybody feels more comfortable with asking questions even out of a meeting and being identified.
One of the, and this isn't a board retreat, but one of the things that would help us understand each other as a board is if we made a dissenting vote, if we would indicate why we were voting in another way that the rest of the board is. We take votes and, you know, we just walk away. We don't say, well, this is why I would vote this way or that way. So it's hard to get a feel for where board members stand on things when we just take a vote and move on.
Philosophically, that's something that I actually agree with very passionately, that if somebody wishes to explain why maybe they're the one or two dissenting votes on something, a quick summary of I'm opposing this because of whatever. I see that as being a good, it has been done from time to time, and I see that as being a good thing.
Yeah, I think we have that opportunity.
I think it's less if they wish to as much as they should.
Well, that's, I don't think they're required to, but if they wish to express their reasoning, I think that's to be encouraged. Because I agree with you, it fosters understanding. Tammy, Catalina, any comments?
I'd like to prioritize everyone feeling comfortable with it. allow for the questions to be asked. And even the board, than to trust that the superintendent is providing all the question behind the question so that we can all understand where that question was coming from.
But we can't do that if we don't know where the question is coming from.
No, I mean
That's
that
what
we
confuses me.
understand the context of the question.
Doesn't matter the
But it
questioner,
doesn't matter who
it's
it's
the-
coming from, yeah.
Sometimes it helps you understand the context if you know where it's coming from, but just saying.
I think it sounds like there's a consensus to, at least for the time being, keep it anonymous within the board. However, I think a big bottom line from this is, please, ask questions. Never let anything or anybody dissuade you from asking questions, because there is no such thing as a foolish question. In fact, I remember many times I've had teachers say, the only foolish question is the one that isn't asked. So please keep asking questions, always. That's how we do our job. That's how we hold the administration accountable to our community.
I will say that being new and looking at these veteran board members, I have no problems asking what I need to know, and I don't mind if any of you sitting at the table know that it came from me. I'm not intimidated by that at all.
Glad to hear that. That's good. Keep asking good questions.
Can I ask a quick question, Bob? Were Rosie and Mason supposed to speak tonight, or, okay, good. I just wanted to make sure nobody was left out inadvertently, so we look forward to hearing you speak next time, okay?
I think this is their initiation, so
Yeah.
they know what they're getting into.
They're like, I don't know, I hope you come back.
I hope we didn't frighten you
Yeah.
off.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to check on that. Thank you.
All right, well, that takes care of that, and that takes care of all of our business for open session. We will be going into closed session, and there will be no action taken after closed session. The recommended motion, the Board of Education will hold a closed session at 8:12 p.m. for the purposes of exception number 2, collective negotiating matters.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel? Mr. Ramos?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Ms. Chavez?
Aye.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
All right, we're going into executive session. Why don't we take 5?